Charles Rehill for Arturia, and at NAMM this year we have Minibrute. It's a 25-key analog synthesizer with a 100% analog signal path. This is an entirely new synthesizer. This is not a recreation of anything from classic. We decided to kind of just build our own out of a couple of components here. It's a single oscillator with saw, square, and sine. However, we've put a wavetable mixer here for the individual wave outputs. And just to make things interesting, we actually added a circuit on each one of those wave outputs to give it a little more character and definition. So for example, on the saw, we have an ultra saw. Oscillator, it actually kind of sounds almost like a D-tune, like you have several. On the square, we have pulse width modulation, complete with envelope control. And on the triangle, we have something called Metalizer. It's kind of a wave folding type circuit. We also have noise. We have an external audio input to introduce extra audio at this point, and we have a sub-oscillator output. All of it can be mixed in at once. And all that from a single oscillator synthesizer. The filter is actually a Steiner-Parker filter. So it's 12 pole, but self-resonating, just like the original. It's brutal. There's actually, it's multi-mode, so it's low pass, band pass, high pass, and notch. And you've got full envelope control and even a switch for making the envelope fast or slow in its response with a dedicated envelope. Obviously the amplifier envelope, full analog VCA. And then something we call brute factor. It's the magic angry knob. What this actually does is take the output of the portion of the output of the filter and reintroduce itself. So it's not quite distortion, it's not quite overdrive, but what it is, it's just a saturation, and especially in conjunction with that filter. Just adds an extra layer of oomph. Control section for the mod wheel and aftertouch can be assigned. It's the same key bed that's in all the analog experience lines, so it's extremely well made, and it will actually send MIDI over USB as well as a MIDI controller, just the keyboards portion. We have a dedicated Lfo and Arpeggiator. These guys are actually digital, and the reason why we did that is so that it can sync to external gear. It can sync to MIDI clock and sync to each other. Lfo is freely assignable to anything as far as pulse width modulation, and the Metalizer that's on the sine wave can alter pitch, the filter, amplifier ends, full complement of waveform, even down to sample and hold. The arpeggiator, we took what we've learned from doing the Jupiter 8 arpeggiator in Jupiter 8V, as well as on the Origin, and put it in here. You also have a full MIDI to CV converter built in automatically. So it will do MIDI over USB and act as a MIDI to CV converter. Okay, that's the oscillator control panel, where you have each one of the wave outputs and the sound design circuits for each one of the wave outputs. The Steiner-Parker self-resonating filter control. As well as the outputs, you have a headphone out, master outputs, the fine-tuning for the oscillator pitch, and the brute factor, which is the harmonic filter overdrive, I suppose. It's the oscillator mixer for the individual waveforms, as well as the audio in and noise source. The dedicated filter envelope, ADSR. The analog VCA envelope. You have the octave control, and the control setting for the mod wheel and aftertouch, as well as portamento. And that is the LFO. The LFO is digital. It's you can assign it to pulse width or the Metalizer, the two sound design circuits on the oscillator outputs, pitch, the filter, the amplifier, the waves. You obviously have sine, triangle, saw, sample and hold, as well as random. The rate knob, obviously, it'll go up to infinity. And the arpeggiator. We are expecting to have this in stores later this spring. We're looking at like March or April right now, with a street price of $499 US.